actually use CSS to move it anywhere. All right. It's okay to do something like that. It is okay. For instance, I want to put a, if you look at some cards, you may see like X, and the X is going to close the card or remove the card from the flow. All right. So to do that, you need this kind of position relative to position absolute, and then you can position it there. All right. So this allows the designer to put things anywhere they want to have it. All right. But some developers just abuse it where they have, for instance, navigation bar. Navigation bar, we know, should be the first thing that comes on every web page. But then they put the navigation bar at the bottom and then use CSS to take it to the top. This creates a problem for screen readers. So for those who are visually impaired or just blind people who rely on screen readers to navigate the page, they will have problem because when the screen readers go to a page, it follows the semantic of the HTML. The semantic, which is the structure of the HTML. All right. So when it goes to body, it goes into the div, and then it begins to go into the div. All right. Before it goes to the next, element in that HTML document. Okay. So yeah, this is the difference, the different behavior between the HTML and CSS from Figma. For Figma, it is just layer. All right. For Figma, we can also move things around, but you can't just move things around that if you have noticed in Webflow. So it's the same thing. You cannot move things around when it comes to CSS and HTML. You just can't move it around because there is a confinement of the HTML where it is stacked, where it is stacked, which is, is it at the top? Is it at the bottom? All right. So there's the confinement of that because it's just like your skeleton. You just cannot take off your elbow and then move it to your head. You can't do that. So HTML has that confinement that when the HTML is structured, because it's the skeleton, right? Unless you technically remove it from that place and take it somewhere else, okay, then it's going to be positioned in that place. All right. But with CSS, you can now change it. It's just like, I don't know, maybe painting your head in your hand. I don't know if that makes sense. but yeah, that's one way to look at it. So just in case, guys, that the recording stops, that's probably because there is a time limit of 40 minutes for every session of the streaming. But yeah, so let's continue. So let me review what we have discussed. So we talked about typeface, which is called font family in CSS. It's called font family. All right. And we said that every typeface has a personality, and we explored different personality of this same title or heading. Now I'm using heading because when it comes to CSS, guys, what you will call this is heading. So that's why I'm calling it heading. Okay. So if someone calls it title, when you're writing the code, you know for certain that what you're going to call this is heading. All right. And as we discussed, Mr. Kudus and Mr. Muiz, if you still remember that from the first, in the hero page, from the first heading that you see, you will start with heading 1. And when you start to go into the document, then you begin to use heading 2, heading 3. I hope you guys remember.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
So as a developer, you need to understand this, okay? That if this is the heading, all right, this will most likely be, in this case, it will most likely be heading 2 or heading 1, So depending on how the developer of these structures is. So let's inspect it to see. All right. So I'm going to click this to inspect. Okay. And I'm going to click this. Let's see. Now you can already see this developer used span to represent heading, which is poor development decision. This is poor development decision. Very, very poor, because the screen reader is not going to interpret this as a heading. Okay, it's not going to interpret it as a heading. All right, so this is poor development decision. So one site in Finland, there was a law which was passed, I think late last year. Yeah, early last year actually. The law enforced that every public site should be accessibility ready. Okay, so we can check out some websites in Finland because most of the sites are accessibility ready. Helsinki.fi, actually Helsinki.fi is University of Helsinki. For some reason, I always come here instead of going to the City of Helsinki website. Anyway, in any case, so let's inspect this. So this is the heading. And if you look at the heading, this developer decided to go with heading 2. So the developer decided to go with heading 2. And if you guys remember the things that we discussed, you would notice that there's a visual hierarchy happening here where the heading is larger in size. And if you're a Finn, it's the first thing that you see, right? Before you actually focus on the paragraph. And let's inspect what the developer used for the paragraph section. Okay. So this developer chose to put this paragraph in a div and actually modify the div. I would say this is another bad developer decision, design decision. Okay. Let me see. I need to find the City of Helsinki website. I'm sorry, guys. Let me find a good example. Yeah. So it's hell.fi, not Helsinki. So Helsinki.fi is the Helsinki University. All right. So this is one site that is accessibility ready, highly accessible for screen readers. So if we check this now, you can see the developer puts the text, which is a link because it's clickable, inside of H2. All right. So heading, and then inside of the heading, he puts the text because he wants to make the text clickable. All right. Let's check out other things. This is another. Okay. So in this case, he reversed it. The link is outside and the heading is inside. And here he.
Don't worry. We'll start. We'll develop our own video caller.
Yeah. We actually have. You remember we have already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll soon perfect it, right?
Yeah.
Grace?
As soon as it is perfected, then we will switch to it. So, guys, what Mr. Moise is talking about, we have an application that we as a team we're working on. So hopefully, if we are able to put it, in place, then we can already start using it. But yeah, generally, guys, you can see what we have talked about. Here, you can see the visual hierarchy where the topic or the heading is thick, which you would generally call bold in the context of Microsoft Word. And then the paragraph is lighter. Okay, the paragraph is lighter and smaller. Okay, so this helps with visual hierarchy. This is the first thing you should have in mind when you're playing with font typeface. All right. Now, if we inspect closely, let's inspect this further. You will see that this has a typeface which the developers created. All right. So if we look at it, you'll see that the typeface is actually, it's called Helsinki Grotesque Black. Now let's look at this one. It's also Helsinki Grotesque Black. All right. But this is a font size of 33 pixel, whereas this is 24. So heading.
Sorry, I have a question there.
Yes. Yes.
All right. If you look at it critically, the size of heading 1 is usually more
Bigger.
than that of bigger than that of heading 2, and just like that, right? Are there cases where you probably using heading 2 or 3, and you want to increase the fonts?
Yes, you want to increase the font size.
Doesn't violate the
No,
design.
it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's a very valid question, okay? And remember when you are developing a web page or an application, when you're developing in terms of design, you are not just developing it for those who, have visual impairments, but more than likely you're developing it for those who can see, right? So in some situations, you want to make your heading 2 bigger, so that it's going to be very obvious, like you want to make it seen. Okay. So in this case, this is heading 1 and it is font size of 33. This is heading 2, which is font size of 24. So let's say we click this and let's see where it takes us to. And then we can inspect the font size that is used on that link. Okay. So you see here, this font size is even a lot bigger than the other font size 1. Let's inspect it. See, it's the same font size heading 1, but the font size in this case is 49 pixel. Okay, so the developer increased the size of this heading 1. So compare it to the previous page, which is smaller. And the reason why it is smaller on the other page, okay, as we already have discussed, is visual hierarchy. What the developer wants to be seen first. Now, let's look at this. This is heading 2. This is also heading 2, right? Heading 2 here in this case is 24 as against what it was on the previous page. Okay, so what you basically do is you work with visual hierarchy. Okay, so that's what you work with. So in this case, this developer chose anchor tag. No, it's not going to be entirely anchor tag. Let's see. So he chose heading 3 for this, and then paragraph for this. So this is why I say that this is one site that most developers go to, because it's built, for accessibility, and it complies with most of these principles of development. All right. And what I was also saying when I was talking about for the visual impaired. All right. Now, watch what is going to happen if I use tab. I hope you guys know the tab key on your computer. If I use tab to access this page, watch what is going to happen. If I tab, you see the tab starts from the Helsinki logo. It has highlighted it. Now, if I tab again, it goes to Suomi, that's the Finnish language, and Svenska, which is the Swedish language. You see? Now, this is possible because in the HTML structure, the navigation is sitting at the top. Now, if the navigation, like we discussed, is sitting at the bottom and then you use CSS to visually put it at the top, the tabbing will start apparently from what is sitting at the top of your HTML. All right. Now, watch if I tab again, it goes to listen.
Can we see this in the code? Like, what do you mean by the tab? They use CSS to move.
Oh, that was what we displayed in.
Oh,
if
sorry.
you here.
Okay.
Sorry,
This is the heading.
Mm-hmm. So in the code, this is sitting at the bottom, but we used CSS to push it to the top. All right. So guys, let's quickly sum this and so we can make progress. So if we're going to code this, all right, we'll use heading 1, all right, and we will modify the font typeface to the font family that we want in CSS, all right, because we understand typeface personality. We can play around with the style, which is the thickness, all right. So if you say black, it creates a different feel. You see, this feel is different from the previous feel. All right. So Roboto bold, which is this black, creates a different feel from Roboto with a font style of theme. All right. And as discussed, when you increase the size, all right, then you should pull the text together. The higher you go in size, just pull the text together. But the opposite happens when it comes to the paragraph, because paragraphs are smaller. All right, it's difficult to read, so you need to space it out. Imagine reading something like this. This is difficult to read, right? So you have to space it out. You space it out. And these are the things that you actually see in real world where developers, are working. So say, for instance, I click one of these reports. Okay. Not so much of a space there, but what you can see the developer is trying to do is trying to bring your attention to this by making it bold and something like this. Maybe this is not the best. Let's check Medium. Medium is another resource that you can use to check. My God, I hate this thing when Medium does this. It's like you have to go find, okay. Let me just find JavaScript, anything, JavaScript, Medium. I'm sorry, guys. I'm thinking now in terms of design, so I can't really come up with any interesting topic. Okay, so this is Medium. All right, so you can see the text are spaced out. There's some kind of a breathing room for the tests. Okay, so the tests are spaced out, and then with visual hierarchy, the developer or the tool is already there for the person who is writing to play with. All right, so this is what we're talking about, guys. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. All right, so that's for fonts. Remember, when choosing a font typeface, all right, always choose a typeface that has at least 6 styles to play with. It is very good to use this kind of font typefaces. So this is the styles. And what I'm talking about is if I drag this to at least 8 or even at least 6, say 6 is good. Okay. Roboto will fall into this category, you can see Roboto is there. And when you click on Roboto, then you can see what I mean by the different styles. So these are the different styles which helps you to achieve different personalities for this typeface. All right. Now, one thing that is also very common, okay, is that the font typeface for the title is often different from the font typeface of the paragraph. Okay, so if you're developing as a designer, all right, this is one of the cheekiest hack, all right, so that you will commonly use a different font typeface. So in this case, the typeface is, let's look at it. It is medium. What is it? So it's called medium content serif font. Medium content. So Medium created their own, just like the other website, they created their own font typeface. So often big companies that have the money can just create their own font typefaces. So they're using the same font typeface for their medium content title font, and here they're using content serif font. All right, so I hope you guys can see the difference. So they're using the same typeface, but because their typeface has different styles, they were able to use the same typeface. Actually, it's not the same in this case. It's not the same because it's a different font family. So it's just like when we were checking something with the Baloo, and we had where is it? Okay, Baloo doesn't have about 7 styles, if you remember, guys. So Baloo only has just one, which is the regular. Okay, so but yeah, Baloo, you can see they have different Baloos. So these are actually different typefaces. So that's what Medium is basically using. All right. So when you have decided on the typeface, all right, often what developers do is they mix the typeface for the title. They use a different typeface. All right. So what I can do in this case is I can use, say, Lato. Lato is one. You can see not much different. Another one is Open Sans. You see, not much different. The feel looks the same. All right. So how oftentimes, I mean, I know because I've done it several times. So I know the kind of typeface that is good for a paragraph. All right. But if you're starting out as a developer, okay, what you can always do is to say, if you're using Roboto, okay, if you're using Roboto as your heading, all right, you can come to pairing here, and then Google Font will tell you the common pairings that developers use. All right, so you can see here it says Open Sans as a paragraph and Roboto, excuse me, as the heading. Okay, and there's a hierarchy, so it shows you also that you can still use Lato as the paragraph. So if you choose it, you see, it shows you how Lato is going to look like. All right, so this is the font, and as you guys have observed, we have played with different fonts, and with different font, we end up with different feel. So this is Montserrat. This is Montserrat. And if I change this, see, Montserrat has more styles. I think up to 16, I guess. 16 styles that you can play with Montserrat. Montserrat is one of the popular font typefaces on the web today. because of this. Okay, so if say I change this to regular, you see on regular, it's a different feel or a different personality. On medium, the same, different personality. So on and on and on and on. This is how you make design decision. All right. So guys, to sum up what we have discussed is that every typefaces have a different personality. And when choosing a font typeface or a font family in the context of CSS, all right, try and choose the typeface that has nothing less than 6 styles. So if you want to use a different typeface for the title and a different typeface for the paragraph, all right, some developers do it. In fact, I would argue that most developers do it. All right. So for the title, you can use at least 6, a typeface that has at least 6 styles. And then for the paragraph, you can use maybe 3 or even just 2, depending on you. All right. This entirely depends on you. Okay. So guys, so this is what we have discussed. And now when it gets to coding this, now you independently can make the decisions yourself without anyone telling you. All right. But let me highlight one final thing, and we would cover everything you need to know when it comes to fonts. All right. The final thing is that there are pretty much 4 types of 4 types when it comes to font typefaces. There are 4 types. Okay. The first one is what is called serif. Serifs are the fonts that have this kind of, sharp edges. What is a good example of a serif? Yeah, maybe serif itself. Let's see if there's anything on serif. There's nothing on serif. Okay. But I can show you with Google font. So we have serif. We have sans serif. So serif means that it has a sharp edge. Sans serif means that it doesn't have that edge. Yeah, sans in French, I think, is without. So it's basically without the edge. Then there is display. All right. Display means that the font has some kind of, design built into it. We will explore this in any case. And then there is the script. All right. These are the 4 main characteristics of a typeface. All right. So I'm going to show you now. So if you look here, categories. So finally, then the monospace. Monospace is the one that looks like computer written code. All right. So sorry about that. So monospace, don't forget. Okay. So let's explore. I'm going to untick all of this, and then we will have just the serif. All right. So if you look at serif, you see the edges. It has these things in all of its edges. Okay. So this is serif. All right. So if you guys look, you would see the edges are quite unique. All right. So let's look at sans serif, which is without the edge. Okay. Without the edge. All right. So without the edges, you can see the difference. Okay. You can see the difference. So Montserrat, which we talked about, and Roboto, they are both sans serif font typefaces. Okay, this is another popular one, Oswald. Many developers are, and Poppins as well. So basically, Google ranked one of the most used. It's ranked the most used font typefaces, which you would call fonts family in CSS. Okay, so this is sans serif. So let's look at display. Before we look at display, let's look at handwritten. Handwritten or handwriting. I think it's handwriting in English. So it's called scripts. All right. Google decided to call it handwriting. I don't know why, but in the world of text, it's called scripts. All right. So let's look at script before we look at display. So these are scripts typefaces. There are cases where scripts are the best options when it comes to making the typography decision. All right. And the use cases is where you are designing a website for family, and it has to do with kids. All right. You want to use a script, but not the one that makes it difficult for your users to read, like this one. Okay, maybe something like this, because this kind of typeface creates a feel of ease. All right, it creates a feel of ease. Font typefaces of serif, that's the one with the edge, creates a feel of corporate world, corporate, legal, legal world, corporate world, like finance. So if you go and you check maybe your bank, you would see things like fonts like sans serifs used. All right. I'm not sure about Nodia, but let's check it out. Okay. I'm taking a huge, what is it called? Like gamble. So in this case, they used sans serif. They didn't even use serif. As you can see, there are no sharp edges. All right. Maybe if there is a legal website, let's check out any legal website to see. Legal Zoom, I don't know what that is, but yeah, let's see. Okay. In this case, okay, so Wall Street is using serif. Forbes also use serif. Huffington also use serif. So as you guys can see. So so this is when companies want to show this that they are corporate. All right.
I think it's a combination of sans serif and serif. Look at the legal. I mean the other one.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually referring to Forbes, the Wall Street here. If you look at Forbes logo. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. This website itself used what is it called? Sans serif typeface. Both for the heading and the paragraph. Right? They used sans serif. So these are the kind of decisions you make as a developer. So this is why I'm taking the time to explain it, because if you know these design principles, you can combine the right typefaces with the right style to create the right personality for the website. All right, this is very essential when it comes to choosing fonts. Now, another thing that many developers fail to see. All right, but before we go, let's look at display. All right, let's look at display. Okay, so display, this is display. So display kind of looks like it's manually designed, like if you look at this, like this kind of what is it called? This Chinese, is it calligraphy? I don't know what it is called. So you can see. So displays are like much fatter, So you can combine, when searching, you can combine a display and serif together to like find the right, personality for your website. So in this case, Montserrat came out under sans serif and display. Okay, Montserrat came out as a combination of sans serif and display. Okay, so this is how you can choose. Now, Another thing is you can go as far, because if you're a designer, you want to give a reason why you chose a particular font style, all right, or font family or font typeface, all right. If you go to the about section, you can see the inspiration for designing this font typeface. So this is where you can draw your inspiration from. So just in case you're designing for a corporate company, all right, and you have to document the design process, why you make a decision, why you made a decision. So these are where you can find, so here, say for instance, it says, as urban development changes that place, okay, it will never return to its original form and loses forever the designs that are so special and unique. The letters that inspire this project have work, dedication, care, color, contrast. So these are the things where you can pull your inspiration from as to why you chose this typeface. So if you read closer, you will see what these fonts represent. So this is the normal family, and it has two sisters, blah, 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 whatever. So you can also find relative typefaces. But generally, guys, this is how you make the decision. And with the knowledge that you have now, when you are building a website, you know already, okay, when it comes to HTML, all right, that for your heading, you will use either heading 1 or 2. Okay, if it's the top heading, then it's heading 1, all right? Then you have to decide on the font family, okay? The font family that the heading should have, all right? And if you are going high in terms of the size, all right, you will be shrinking the line height of that heading, okay? And if you want to create a different personality, then you will add, you will modify the, what is it called? This, let me see what it is called, just a moment. So you will modify the font style. So in this case, it is normal. So if I change it, say bold, let's look at it. So that's actually the font weight rather. So font weight, bold. Font style is normal. Okay. So it's font weight, you modify. Okay. So these are the decisions you can make now. Maybe not much of a decision to make, because if you get to Figma, you can already see the codes there, right? If you remember, Figma gives you at least the minimal code that represents what you are developing. Okay, so that is that. So guys, we've talked about font typefaces, the font styles. We talked about the what is it called? The font categories, which is the we talked about the font categories, which is the sans serif, serif, and stuff like that. And we talked about how to pair different fonts together. So which fonts go with another font. Okay, so we've covered extensively, and we also looked at different examples. In fact, currently we have one example. And if you look at this example, by the way, you see that using this type of font family or typeface allows us to do something with what is called overlap. So this topic, this heading overlaps with the image, and it creates a kind of design. By the way, this is a legit design. All right. But if we use what we had previously, which is a lighter font, all right, it didn't work well. This is okay, but not so much. This is even worse, all right, because the overlay doesn't look in design what is called intentional. All right, intentional is a big part of design. You have to make it look intentional. Otherwise, it looks like a mistake on your part. So this is an intentional design. All right? And it's a legit design. So if we put the button here now, then it looks so real. Right? So let's just quickly put some kind of a button so you guys can see. Maybe make it lighter a bit, and then just type in something there. Say register, and then reduce the size apparently, and then make it white. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. So basically, you guys have seen. Maybe make it a little bit bigger, 24. Okay, and say we can even duplicate it, and just as you guys have seen, so we can just switch it. This is usually what developers do. So maybe make this transparent and then make the font black so it becomes visible. I mean, you really won't put login here. Maybe maybe what you put is your asking them to drop their email, right? So this is, I mean, we just designed a web page in seconds, literally, in minutes, let's say minutes. And this is a legit design, okay? The only thing we haven't touched, okay, is what is called alignment, because if you look closely, you will see that most of the things are actually misaligned. So we can from the next session we can start looking at alignment. Okay, so guys, let's call it a day because we've already gone almost 2 hours. If you have any questions, let me know. So guys, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have.
Yes, I have one question.
Okay.
Kudus, go first.
Go
first.
The question I have is, I just want you to show us that those grid lines, those 12 grid lines.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, I want you to show us how you did it.
So that's alignment. That's alignment. Okay.
Yes,
so
yes,
since there's a request for it, I can show you. So one way to
let's wait till next class now. So you teach us extensively.
No. I want to practice. I want to practice on our own before the next class now. Please.
Okay. For the sake of it, I'm going to show how to bring the alignment. So the way you bring it is to click on the frame. When you click on the frame, okay, so it pretty much selects everything, but what you need precisely is here. So I have it already, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So if I remove it, how you do it is you come to grid and then you click the plus sign. So when you click the plus sign, it comes here, it shows you as grid, okay? Then you will change from grid, you change to columns. So when you change to columns, it gives you usually 5, okay? For the web, as we have seen a couple of times, okay, it's usually 12 grids in the web. So Bootstrap uses the same, Material Design uses the same. So it's usually 12 grids for the web, for web pages, all right? So it's like a convention, all right? So you change it to 12. You change this to 12, okay? When you change it to 12, it's pretty much fills in everything. So usually what developers do is they bring it to to the middle, all right? Or they generally just give it a margin of 140. So with this 140, it's then, brings it like this, giving a space. So which is what you often find on most websites, that there is a space by the left and by the right. All right. Now the gutter here is the space in between. Okay. So you can use 20. I usually use 30 for the gutter. And you can already see that our paragraph and heading is already aligned, but the image is not. So we can now fix the image. And if we remove this now, like this, it's there, but it's just turned off. You can see the design looks a lot much more better. Okay, maybe we can make it look a lot better by actually fixing this to complete 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns. All right. So, but yeah, generally this is how you do it. And how to get it, you click on the frame, the grid, and then select the columns, increase the it's going to by default be grids. You change it to columns, make it 12 columns because that's the convention, and give it a margin by the left and right of 140, and then gutter is the space in between of 30. And if it's getting in the way, you just click these eyes. It's still there, but it's just turned off.
Obrigado, senor.
Okay. Any other question?
Yeah. So you've been doing some magic. The first magic you did is that we ran into some problem. I particularly ran into some problem when I was trying to duplicate this the images. You just did when you created the box.
Yeah.
This button register. Yeah, it didn't go through the stress of copying and paste. Just did the magic. How did you do that? Yeah.
Okay.
I had to like search on YouTube.
You went through the stress too, in fact.
So what I now did after going through YouTube, you put your command, your button command D, press command button and then D. So it depends on how many times you want to duplicate it. If it is 3, then
okay.
Sorry, I still don't get it.
So basically, let me address.
On Webflow,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm listening to you.
So on Webflow, we wanted to duplicate, still we didn't get it. All right. Okay. So maybe you
yeah,
just
I can show you. I can show you.
All right.
So to duplicate.
Then before you go further, let me just ask the second question, right?
Okay.
So you are developing a website and you actually fell in love with a particular font family, a type.
So let's make this as our assignment to do something like this. Okay. So this is going to be our assignment for the week. And I honestly hope that everyone will participate in this to create something like this. Because if you can create something like this, chances are you can create it in Webflow. All right. And chances are that you can also create it in HTML and CSS. All right. So guys, this is going to be our assignment for the coming week. If you can achieve something like this, then you can already build what is called a hero page in web development. All right. So this is your assignment. Play around with different font typefaces, different paragraph font typeface, but remember to use the right font typeface for the right place. Okay, when it comes to the paragraph, use the right one. When it comes to the heading, use the right one. And then, as you have seen, explore different characteristics. Okay, so please do just so you can, Mr. Muiz, I'm sorry about this, but yeah, let me show you guys something. So if you go to pexels.com pexels.com, you can see pictures that you can use. All right, on pexels.com. All right, so Pexels is one website you can use. I'm going to drop this link, and the pictures are free. In fact, most websites you see on the web today use pictures from Pexels. All right, so let's say let me show you guys something. Okay, so I'm going to quickly just show you this very quickly. So if you are not using Pexels, you can use Unsplash. Unsplash is another website. Okay, so Pexels or Unsplash. Okay, so I'm just going to just look for one picture, and I will show you guys something. Maybe this one. It doesn't matter, just any picture. Okay, dump it here. Then I'm going to go to Figma. Then I will show you guys something. So what I was saying earlier about for corporate world, okay. So let me just demonstrate it where the typeface, especially sans serif and serif, when it comes to something for corporate and something for just general. So with sans serif, you can actually achieve this, but it's going to look a lot more better if you use. So now I've dropped this image, and this image is sitting at the top. I can bring it to the bottom by dragging it through the layers. So guys, don't forget that. Drag it through the layers. Okay. So I'm going to increase the size and then just shrink it this way. Okay. I will use the grid to align it properly to be sure that it doesn't spill. Okay. Okay. Maybe something like this. Okay. So because of this, then I can now look for a font that is actually serif, not sans serif, but serif. All right. Because the building looks structured, and one I can use is, say, Playfair. Let's try Playfair. Okay, so Playfair. Okay.
This is where my second question comes in. Sorry for interruption.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
Now you are building a so you're building a website, and you fall in love with a particular font.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. So look at this, guys. So I'm using serif in this case because it kind of shows corporate, and the feel of serif, I feel, makes a lot more sense in this context. But I mean, you can already see that it's overlapping with the paragraph. So maybe something like this looks a lot more, but it has to be intentional. Okay, don't forget that, guys. With this black and on this kind of picture, it doesn't look intentional. So there's a lot of noise coming from the image. So we will discuss how to choose the right image in the coming sections. All right, so this is another part. But yeah, I'm sorry about that. Now I'm listening to you. My apologies.
Okay, sorry for interrupting, Adrian.
It's okay.
So you copy the content somewhere and you paste it on Figma. Does that mean the family or the name of that particular font size and font would appear in this Figma? Will you be able to determine the name so that can now use it?
One way. Okay, so basically what we discussed is how you can sense the the font typeface that they are using. All right. One way, like we did with the Helsinki website, is that we inspected the page. All right. So we inspected using the inspect tool, because the inspect tool will definitely show you what the typeface, so in this case it is Roboto / script. Okay. So if you use the inspect tool, you can already see what the font typeface they're using. But if you are doing a much more like what is called a mood board, where you go to, say, sites like Dribble, all right, okay. On sites like Dribble, you don't get to see the font family. Like, I can't check because these are just images. All right, there's no way I can tell what font typeface they used. All right, but I can already begin to guess that number one, it's a sans serif, because it doesn't have that sharp edges. So if I can't get the precise font typeface, so I can now begin to look at common patterns. So very common pattern is that some developers use is A and E. Okay, A and E they give away the type. So if I look at say now I look at sans serif, okay, I remove serif because apparently this is a sans serif rather. It doesn't have the sharp edges. So then I can now begin to look at the A. So this A looks pretty similar to the A that is used here. And the E is kind of straight on the E side. So probably this designer used Roboto. Okay, so this designer most likely used Roboto. So this is how you can also tell, which is why we covered the different types of typefaces, which is the sans serif, serif, the display, monospace, and script. Okay, if it is slanted, like we checked out, then you know it's definitely script. Okay, so this is definitely serif, because it has the sharp edges. And then you can see there's a common theme with the capital letter or the letters having some kind of thin line for some of the letters. So this is something you can already begin to investigate. You isolate it to serif and then begin to dig deeper into the type of fonts that was used. All right. Typography is a big deal in design. So typography is a big deal. Very, very big deal. In fact, before you even start designing, this is the first decision you're going to make. Okay. Like I showed you guys in the document here, you have to decide on the typography, and you have a proper documentation for the typography that you're using. Okay. So any other question?
Thank you so much. What about that duplicate?
Oh yeah, the duplicate. So the duplicates, the way you do it is, so in my case, I know that this button is scattered because the text is just flying somewhere, and then the square is flying somewhere else. So usually what you want to do is you want to select the text, hold down your shift key, select the box. So when you select the text and the box and you hit Ctrl G, G means grouping. So you can group. So if I don't want to use Ctrl G, I can right click after I have selected both. As you can see, both are selected here. Then I'm going to say group selection. So if I group selection, then both the text and the rectangle becomes one thing. And if I want, I can just already change the name, okay, and just call it here button. So now I have my button. So this I can call my, they call this kind of button. As you can see, I've selected login and rectangle, and I'm going to group it as well using Ctrl G. It's also a button. Oftentimes they call it CTA button. All right. So usually developers may type out button, or they can just type it in this way, BTN. So depending on the developer. And this is what is going to also influence the class name. When they give a class, they will call it CTA BTN as a class name. Okay. So how to then, since I have grouped them, I can just Control D. Where is it? Okay. Now I see why you guys had the problem. So, but generally, Control C, and Control D will duplicate. So basically what I'm saying is if I select it and I Control C, Control D, you see I have two of it. So it's there. I just need to move it away. But the easiest way that most designers do is to just hold down the Alt key. If you hold down the Alt key, you see the mouse cursor changes. So if you hold down the Alt key, then you click and drag. So Alt, hold down Alt key, the mouse changes, click and drag. Okay. So
all right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So it's the same way I can duplicate the entire thing here by holding the Alt key, click and drag. Then I can begin to explore. You know, I have desktop 1, desktop 2. I can now begin to explore, you know, different feel. As you can see, this has a different feel compared to the other one. Okay, so we can talk about the color selection, image selection, alignment in details in our next section, so that you will all have a deep understanding of how you can make this design decision. And as we have said a couple of times, if you understand designs, then you understand what to code independently without anyone telling you what you should use, because you know what you want to use. And if the test is like giving you a lot of problem, you know, drawing inspiration, go to the font description section, which is the about. Read about what was the inspiration and draw from that. Like this says that the font features friendly and open curves. So if you want something so friendly, Roboto is your choice. Okay, something friendly, you know, natural width. So you can draw from all of this. Reading, natural, reading. All right. Most commonly found in humanists and serif type. So if you're designing for a humanist organization, say even wildlife, all right, you can draw from this inspiration as to why you're using Roboto. Okay. I hope this helped with this because font is one of the biggest decisions that you have to make, right? Any other question? Miss Josephine, it may not just be a question, but what you have taken out from this session.
Oh, okay. I was actually implementing a web app for personal use with React, and I was kind of stuck with the design. So I'm glad that I attended this particular lesson, because I was confused on how to design. I saw a design on Dribble and I wanted to implement the same thing, but I just did a wire framework. I've not used any kind of design tool to try it out. I'm just developing the web and I'm stuck. So it's good that I came for today's lesson.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you were able to join us. Yeah. So with this now, you can explore multiple font typeface personality for your web application, which you're building. You know, with the knowledge from the session.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, any other question, guys? Oh, by the way, guys, I'm going to upload the video, and please remember to subscribe. And if you want, you can also leave a comment. And also, if you like, you can recommend your friends to watch it. Like I said from the beginning, if you don't, what we aim in is for the star is to make everybody a developer. But if you eventually cannot reach the star, then you can fall back to become a designer. So you fall back to the moon to become a UX UI designer, because we're covering in-depth design principles, design concepts, in these sessions, which will help you making the development decision. Mr. Jimmy?
Yep.
You're on. You have a question?
Not really. I thought everything is cool.
All right. Awesome. So now, Mr. Jimmy, you can write your code without it relying on somebody else telling you what to write.
I was still need to go through the video.
Yeah. You can go through it, because the more you review those things, the better. All right. So what we're doing is basically doing it in Figma, but it's pretty much the same. If you click on the code section, you can still see the code. So in most cases, you don't really have to type it anymore. You just copy the code and then paste it in your CSS after you have targeted that thing in your CSS. So if it's a class, in this case, heading, this is heading, you will give a heading, say hero section title or hero title. All right. And then you target that class. So, and then you give it. So this helps you, in making the decision. So basically, the deeper we go, we will begin to explore things like padding. So padding, distances between two components, we will talk about them. All right. Like this, the distance, how you can have a uniform padding or margin, which will be uniform all through your design. Okay, so there's a lot we're going to cover, guys. A lot. All right, so it's going to be a very if you stick around, a very should I say resourceful journey that will help you in making, becoming a developer. Okay, guys, so let's call it today. Miss Jennifer, do you have anything? Mr. Kudus?
I'm fine. I just want to go and explore what I've learned today.
Okay. All right. That's great. Miss Jennifer, you were say something?
I was saying no questions. I'm just going to practice everything that we have learned today. And I missed the last class, so I'll have to go through it again and then go through today's video as well to get a stronger grip on everything that we have. Go away.
All right. You shouldn't go away. Oh. No, don't go away. Okay. All right. So please go over it. And guys, remember this, you have an assignment, and I want you all to participate in this assignment. All right. Oh, finally, I will show you this final thing, because this question was recurrent. All right. It was recurrent. So how do you export this as an image? I'm going to show you now. So select it. In this case, I want to select this one. If you select it, I've selected it. Then I will go to design, be on the design, and then scroll all the way to the bottom, and then you will see export. So you can choose between JPG, PNG. Please reserve SVG for later. We will talk about SVGs later, okay? But you can go with JPG, because you really don't need the white transparent background. All right, go with JPG and then export. Okay, I will go over it again. Select precisely what you want to export. So in this case, we want to export all of this. If you don't want to export all of this, then you select what precisely you want to export. All right. In this case, if I export this, I'm exporting just these ones without the desktop background. But since I want this desktop frame, I'm going to choose this here and then go to JPG, then export. Okay. Now if I will dump it on my desktop. Okay. Dump it on my desktop. If I now go to my desktop, and I open my desktop, then I'm going to find it. Where is it? This is it. So you see, let me use a better tool to open it. This paint brushes. It's Seek. Okay, so this is it. So this is how you export, because I noticed since we didn't touch it, some of you used your phone, which is okay as long as we can see what you have done. But this is the right way to export in from Figma. All right. So I'm happy we touched this because I had it in mind that we're going to discuss it. All right, guys. So let's call it a day. If you have anything through the course of the week, send it to me. If I'm chanced, I will address it and we can work on it together. Okay?
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, and do have an awesome week ahead, guys.
Yeah,
And
you too, boss. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and you're welcome. Have a wonderful week ahead.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.